I first became aware of the weight of memory one humid summer night in my childhood home. I was 10 years old, crouched beneath my grandmother's mango tree, listening to cicadas drone like ancient violins. My mother's laughter drifted out from the open window, mingling with the smell of jasmine tea. I traced the silhouette of her face in the dim light and felt in the hollow of my chest a jolt of sweetness and sorrow so sharp it took my breath away. That night I realized memory was more than pictures stored inside my head. It was a living pulse, an echo in the spaces between my heartbeats. Years later, as a graduate student in consciousness studies, I chased that echo from dusty archives in India to the laboratories of sleep science in Europe. I pored over neurology papers that mapped how the amygdala and hippocampus conspired to forge emotional memories, and I studied dream journals filled with wild hyperreal images that refused to stay confined to REM sleep. But the deeper I plunged into theory, the more I felt the silent tug of something ineffable, an undercurrent that no MRI could capture, a thread woven through both brain and soul. My real awakening came when I met Master Sakuru. It was a gray autumn morning in Varanasi, the Ganges shrouded in mist. He appeared at the ghats as though summoned by the river itself, sandals slapping softly on the stone steps. His eyes held centuries, and his voice was both thunder and balm. He spoke of runa banda, the invisible bonds memory weaves between souls and places, and cabar v catma, the ritual of purifying the mind's canvas. Over the next month, I followed him from dawn prayers on the water's edge to midnight chants in candlelit shrines. With each teaching, I felt my own stories loosening their grip. One morning, he handed me a tattered scroll inscribed with Sanskrit verses on memory's impermanence. In the last line, I found a phrase that seared itself into my heart. Let the currents of time erode the carvings of the past, and you will stand unbound. That same afternoon, I sat alone by the river, wrapped in orange robes borrowed from a passing monk, and watched the sun melt into the water. I wrote my first letter to the past, a confession of regrets, a farewell to joys that had become ghosts. Then I cast it into the flow. I watched the paper spin away, turn pale, and dissolve until it was nothing but a ripple. Returning home, I tried to explain this to my mother. "Why release it all?" she asked, her brow furrowed. "Isn't memory precious?" I sipped my tea and said, "Because precious things can become their own prisons." She studied me in that soft lamplight, and for a moment, I saw her memories, her childhood laughter under the mango tree, her first heartbreak flash behind her eyes. She nodded as though she understood more than my words could say. Over the next year, I wove small rituals into everyday life. Each dawn I wrote 3 memories in a leather-bound journal. One of light, like my grandmother's smile, the second of shadow, my first failure at love, and the third of quiet walking barefoot on dew-soaked grass. Then I performed a brief release, a silent whisper of gratitude, a shaking of the page to set the words free. I hung the journal on my wall as a map of my heart, but the writings never stayed. When I returned each night, the page would be blank, as if the thoughts had melted back into the air. In dreams, I took this further. The first time I realized I was dreaming and named my own memory within the dream, it appeared as a bright red thread stretching into a dark cavern. I tugged, and it unraveled into thousands of tiny sparks, each a scene from my past. Instead of clinging, I simply watched as they scattered like fireflies. Waking, my chest felt light, as if I had shed a layer of skin. Yet memory returns in unexpected ways. A certain street corner in Paris flooded me with the smell of fresh baguettes and the ache of a love that ended too soon. The creak of an old chair in Kyoto recalled a childhood friend I'd lost touch with. Memory lurks in objects, the chipped teacup in my kitchen, the worn paperback at the cafe. Each time I paused, placed my hand gently upon the object's surface, and breathed out its hold on me. "Thank you for your story," I'd whisper, then step away. My travels taught me that every culture has its own way of surrendering to memory's flow. In Bali, grieving families floated bamboo rafts adorned with marigolds and letters of farewell down rivers. In Peru, shamans sang songs to coax the spirits of the past into the mountains. I adopted bits and pieces, writing on banana leaves and letting rain rinse the words away, singing an ocean chant into the wind at sunset. Every act was a bridge between what was and what is, a way to keep memories alive without letting them tether me. But the digital age posed a new challenge. I could record my grandmother's voice, animate my father's face with AI, preserve every pattern of my life in cloud servers. One afternoon, enticed by novelty, I downloaded a holographic projection of my childhood dog. It wagged its tail, barked, nuzzled my hand, yet behind those pixelated eyes I felt a chill. It was as if the very aliveness of memory had been drained away, leaving only a simulation. The experience buried me in an uncanny valley of grief and fascination. I realized that the urge to immortalize memory can become its own cage, a glossy, irresistible prison. So I turned off my devices and sought analog. I took Polaroid snapshots of ordinary moments, coffee cups, sunrise clouds, the smile of a stranger, and pinned them to a shifting collage on my studio wall. Each morning, I removed one photo and fed it to the compost bin. I watched it fade, return to earth, and felt gratitude for its brief existence. In meditation circles, I shared my story, how I came to see memory not as a treasure chest but as a river, always flowing, never static. Some asked how they could keep memories alive for their children. I replied, tell the stories, yes, but let the kids embellish, reframe, add their own dreams. Let memory be a living dialogue, not a museum exhibit. I found that the practice of letting go did not erase meaning, instead, it deepened it. Without the burden of possession, memories blossom into pure nectar. A child's laugh becomes a blessing. A lost love becomes a lesson. A failure becomes a stepping stone. I wrote essays about this for journals, gave talks at conferences, but always insisted, theory is fine, but you must feel it in your bones. Last winter, I dedicated a week to solitude in a remote monastery in Tibet. Each evening, monks lit candles in a vast hall filled with ancient Thangka paintings. We walked a labyrinth of prayer wheels, spinning them and intoning mantras to honor impermanence. I closed my eyes and let the mantra circle within me, Om Ahum. With each spin, I imagined my memories turning like wheels, each revolution softening their edges. On the seventh day, I sat by a frozen lake as the sun dipped behind snow-capped peaks. I traced a memory of my first lucid dream flying over mountains of clouds and felt its warmth rise in my chest. Then I exhaled, watched the mist ascend, and felt free. Now, as I write this from my study in Ho Chi Minh City, where the streets pulse with scooters and mango blossoms scent the air, I carry that freedom with me. I keep a small jar of river water on my desk as a reminder. Water doesn't cling, it moves onward. Every evening before sleep, I drop a pinch of salt into the jar, whisper a memory I've carried too long, and watch the grains dissolve.